We've seen Andeemon before. The 3 decks that they've brought are Rune, Shadow, Blood for both of them. And now this is the question that we talked about, where Rune kind of felt like another deck that was banned out quite as equally because people didn't really want to deal with D-Shift. But let's see if that's the case here. Hacterox versus Andeemon, and it looks like one of the Runecraft decks will make it, which means I assume that Andeemon's Bloodcraft deck is banned out. But let's take a look at these mulligans. Talk to me about what you guys see here.
So we definitely see a D-Shift in the opening hand for Andeemon, which is great. And for Hacterox, not so great against D-Shift, that opener.
I'm actually kind of glad that it is a D-Shift. I was going to add earlier, another reason people will ban Rune over Blood is because you know what Shadow's playing, you know what Blood is playing, you know what Sword is playing, but Rune right now is actually kind of a wild card. They could be playing either D-Shift or Dirt Rune, and if your decks aren't like aimed to beat both of those, you kind of just want to get rid of that. So,
right.
That's actually a very good point.
I actually think that leaving D-Shift because you think your aggro decks can beat it is actually a mistake. I think that D-Shift is not something most people prepare against enough, and I think it causes them to not play optimally in the matchup, and that's something that I don't think a lot of people consider.
For sure. It's a deck that's like sort of fallen out of favor as far as ladder goes, so unless you actually particularly practice this matchup, it can be kind of weird.
I think Andeemon has pretty much walked into the perfect situation. He's got Fate's Hand, Flame Destroyer, Dimensional Shift right at the start, plus a Levi for safety, another removal spell, and Magic Missile for even more draw. This is pretty much what you want for D-Shift. I mean, maybe a second Dimensional Shift card, maybe?
So with D-Shift, it's all about the flow of cards, right? It doesn't really matter what they have in their hand other than D-Shift and the Flame Destroyer. It's like if Magic Missile hits another 2 play point spell into another cheap spell into another cheap spell, that kind of thing. It has to flow correctly, but it has all the right tools, as you said.
Whoa.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
That was a very interesting line.
Yeah.
Because Magic Missile would have hit Kaleidoscopic Glow too, which would have not been castable on that Bone Chimera, but, you know, for sure going to be a cast target next turn.
Yep. You usually don't see Dimension Shift players using their Fate's Hand like that, but felt like he probably needed to get some more answers. For sure.
Yeah. And he got another one. Oh, man.
He kind of lucked out a little bit there, since he does still have the Magic Missile. He got an Angelic Snipe as well as the Kaleidoscopic Glow, so he can actually just make a Golem, Angelic Snipe, or even play Levi and Evo here. Drawing cards first, of course. Yeah, he's drawing, just like Exo said, the flow. He's getting right into that flow. He's getting exactly what he needs.
Just cheap spells on cheap spells on cheap spells. Let's go.
Things are looking good for Andeemon right now. Currently, Flame Destroyer at 3 play points and his Dimensional Shift at 11. So keep tabs on that, because any moment, and especially as the turns go on, you can play more and more spells. And once, for example, that Fate's Hand hits 0 cost, or any of your spells in hand, that Fiery Embrace as well hits 0 cost, you really start to see the effectiveness of D-Shift kind of go exponentially higher.
Absolutely.
It's a deck that sort of scales as the game goes on, literally, so.
Yes, definitely scales. Now, realistically also, if there's not something else to help end the game beyond that one Flame Destroyer and maybe the Levi, he might not be able to assemble enough damage by turn 8. So it's a huge crapshoot with D-Shift on what you draw. Like, not just the small spells to feed into the D-Shift, but also being able to end the game in an appropriate amount of time. Because as this game goes on, Hacterox will be able to deal more damage. I mean, it's just going to be a guarantee after a while, so.
He's 2 turns away from Ector, so that's still something that you very much need to respect, especially as D-Shift. You want to make sure you're removing, and kind of when you get to that play point 7 area, what does D-Shift really look for in terms of a mass board clear? Now, of course, shadows are kind of few and far in between for Hacterox, but you still can't rule out the possibility that Ector is going to flood the board, right?
Right. Yeah. Board flood is the hardest thing for D-Shift to deal with, period. There isn't really a board wipe unless you play Fire Chains, which I saw some of the players in the EU doing, but most D-Shift players don't play that card.
Oh, and this is what I'm talking about. You got the 0 cost Fate's Hand that could really kind of bring you an extra
Ooh.
spell here or there. And I really think D-Shift is coming close to pulling the trigger. You've got a 0-cost Flame Destroyer, which means that you can set that up and at least get one swing here. Of course, he hasn't drawn that second D-Shift, so that means that the one-shot capability really lies on how much health Hacterox has once you commit that one spell that you have. And I don't know. I think that we've seen this situation before in the EU qualifiers, and it actually was kind of janky for the D-Shift player.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, like,
Also,
for instance, right...
Levi's Fireball being used for board control there, while amazingly, you know, it was a good play, it got a lot of value. That 3 damage can actually make a difference when going face for the kill.
Yep. Lets you actually OTK with less of a high end. Also, we see a situation here. This is one of the turns that I'm talking about. This will be a pivotal turn. So, if Hacterox decides to go full face damage here instead of clearing board, it might enable Andeemon to actually go off sooner. So, like, clearing D-Shift's board is very important, especially around the turn 7, turn 8 mark.
And of course, Hacterox doesn't know what Andeemon has in hand, so he has no idea how effective the spell boosting has been.
Absolutely. Plus, he hasn't seen a sorcery cache yet, so he might think he has plenty of time, but it looks like he is going to clear board, so smart play.
This will probably end up leading to Fiery Embrace coming down this turn. It is at 0 though, so I imagine Merlin will be cast first to try and dig for a D-Shift.
Yep. Let's see. Let's count here. So we've got 3, 7, 10, 17 damage. Not quite enough. We'll need an extra few spell boosts on the D-Shift.
So the D-Shift currently costs 7 play points here. He's got a few more opportunities of spell boost. He's got the Fiery Embrace, which is 0, and then Conjure Golem, Merlin, of course, if that's a choice, or the Evolved Levi could be a choice as well, and the Sorcery Cache, which I believe the Sorcery Cache will kind of scale D-Shift's cost accordingly. If you use the Sorcery Cache, it's going to boost 3 times, which is going to put it to 4, right. And you're still going to remain with 4 play points, and you can use your 0-drop Fiery Embrace to push that 1 more play point down.
He's going to need to use that Fiery Embrace this turn. What I think Andeemon is doing is he's counting what he can do with his play points and not die to Ektar.
Insight is one of the best top decks he could have gotten there. Into Glow.
Yep. Glow the Soul Squasher, so Fiery Embrace the 3-1.
If he glows and Fiery Embraces, he can still play the D-Shift here.
Not going to play the D-Shift, I don't think.
He's not going to play the D-Shift. He has lethal next turn if he just chills.
Yep.
D-Shift with an Evolve wouldn't add enough, so...
Yeah, and he can, because a D-Shift costs so little right now, and especially this Conjure Golem is one of his cards, he could literally just play all the cards in his hand, right? The Flame Destroyer is 0, so it's 2, 4, 6, 10 play points if he wants to throw in the Merlin, but really the Flame Destroyer, Conjure Golem, and 2 Levi's is more than enough. So I think... Oh, he passed, so I think it's over, right?
Yes, I believe this is the end game.
Yep, there
Conjure
it is.
Golem, double Levi, Destroyer, Dimension Shift, Evolve 1 Levi, Fireball.
Yep.
It won't be long now.
There it is. And this is what's so dangerous, right? I mean, really, what could Hacterox do? You know, I think the big difference here is right on the 7th turn was the most important turn that Hacterox needed to have followers on board. And that would really enable him to use an Ektar and kind of swing for face, but Andeemon found some way to kind of squeeze and weasel his way out of that situation.
He did actually need that 1 damage from Magic Missile, but yeah, he still has it anyway.
Perfect.
That's funny. Yeah, that Angelic Snipe earlier, that aggressive Angelic Snipe actually helped him in the game. That's interesting.
Yeah. Every single point of damage matters, and that's kind of what Envy was saying before, right? The Crimson Sorcery that he chose to use for board clear, maybe that 3 points of damage could have changed everything, but it seemed like Andeemon played out that situation right according to how it happened, and I don't know. What can you do at that point? I mean, the good news is now Runecraft is out. Right, you don't have to deal with D-Shift anymore. Now you can come back and try to win the next 2 games against what I can only assume is going to be the Shadowcraft deck that Andeemon might run here, assuming Blood is banned. How do you feel that's going to play out? You know, against? Do you think Ban Hacterox is going to run Shadow again, or do you think Ban Hacterox is going to take out his rune?
Well, It looks like Shadow v Shadow. I think it really doesn't matter when you're playing like Conquest after the bans are done. It really doesn't matter what you want to do with your decks because they both have to win anyway. So realistically, it could be Hacterox being like, I don't really want to play Shadow for a game. I want to give it a break because I'm kind of tilted with that deck. But if he's fine, he's just like, I lost, whatever. It doesn't really matter what he brings because he still has to win. So.
Yep. Andeemon.
Right. The only advantage you would have there is knowing exactly what he's against. There are some times that you would like. You don't ban blood, you know they're gonna open blood, and you go in with like this beats blood deck or whatever. But exactly like Hexo said, both of them have to beat blood if you don't ban it. So, yeah.
What kind of a format is dot deck?
This beats blood dot deck.
That's right. Dot deck. That's just a term, man. You get used to it.
I don't understand.
Phantom Howl actually in Andeemon's hand is really, really interesting. It's not
I'm a huge promoter of that card. I think that Phantom Howl is still great, and it's underutilized at the moment. It's one of the best removal spells Shadow has access to, and it's definitely one of the best finishers still.
That's actually interesting. A lot of players, I think, don't see that card as a removal spell. They just think this is only for face damage. There's no reason I'd ever go, remove cards with this. But yeah, it's a good point.
The first time you remove an Alice board with a Phantom Howl, you're just like, wow, that card's great.
That's just an emotional attachment. That's just
you're right. You're right.
Getting stuck to it. I'll never cut this card.
Oh no.
Andeemon drew Hector for later, but that makes this turn really awkward, actually.
Okay, so Hacterox actually has a good little engine here. He's got his Lurching Corpse, he's got a Demon Eater, he's got Soul Conversion, he's on the play. So he's got this new Shadow deck actually plays a lot like D-Shift. It's not necessarily about what you have in hand, other than your little combo pieces to draw cards. It's about the flow of cards as you draw them. So as long as they flow correctly, he's definitely in a winning position here, being on the play with the card draw.
And both players actually holding that card you mentioned, Demon Eater, from the new expansion. Turns out Soul Conversion on a stick is really, really good when you're also playing Soul Conversion. So being able to just turn all your little 1-drops, your Lurching Corpses, and your stuff that wants to die anyway into free card draw is pretty insane.
Excuse me, Shadow draws cards like D-Shift does now? Pretty good.
Yeah, turns out it's pretty good.
Pretty effective. Now, what's interesting is yesterday in the European Qualifier, we saw a deck that was Shadowcraft run by Catch that was very similar, but it opted to remove things like the Lich, to remove all these other things in lieu of trying to guarantee pulling Lurching Corpses and Kawi's and such. How do you feel like that compares to this particular Hector version of the Shadowcraft line? Do you think it is more effective to run that heavy removal style? What are the benefits of the two?
So Ledger's always been kind of this, like, it's really good against late game decks and really bad against aggro decks. So it really depends on what you plan on playing against and what you plan on banning out. So if you're planning on playing against a lot of aggro, the Ledger variant's not very good, right? Because it doesn't actually do anything the turn it comes into play, except for maybe a random Lurching Corpse, which is not always what you want to be doing against the big board. But if it's a much slower format, then yeah, of course, you want to gain as much value as you can every single turn, and Ledger can definitely help with that.
Right, exactly. And like we saw multiple times yesterday, it's literally just whatever you ban to fit around the Ledger build. You let Dragon through, you actually let Blood through, I think, a little bit, because it does help against Spawn. Ledger into Kawi is very good against that, so... Or Lurching Corpse, just one of the best ways to just get rid of their stuff pretty significantly.
And actually that's interesting. Now after today, with the update, Kawi will actually heal more damage than Abyss's passive will do, right?
That's true.
Right, yeah, actually, yeah.
Interesting.
It's true. It will always heal more now, as a matter of fact, because 5 is the limit for Abyss.
Yeah.
5 is
so more likely we just won't see Abyss ever again. But, yeah.
Well, I wouldn't go so far, okay? I'm pretty sure Abyss is going to show back up, but it's going to be in a wildly different deck.
It's still a pretty good... I mean, inevitability is still very valuable, right? And
I mean, it's still pretty close to old Zell combos, right? It still deals like 13 damage and or 11 damage. So...
it's capped at 5 on attack and 5 on effect. No, wait. If it evolves...
But also it's damage,
it's
right?
Actual swing.
Right, yeah, if it hits face. I forgot it. It doesn't have 5
Still
attack.
a ton. Still a freaking ton, okay?
Yeah,
what is it, 8 on evolve?
If it hits face,
Yeah.
Yeah, 8 plus 5 on evolve.
I think the biggest nerf to spawn was actually that Baphomet's unplayable now. So you can't play 6 spawns. You can only play 3.
Unless you're cheeky and that's the only Bloodcraft follow in your deck.
Ah, okay.
There it is.
Phantom Cat. Well, what if Baphomet just pulls Baphomet?
Oh god.
Well, then you're in Dragon Summoner territory, and then you're just like, oh well.
Well, if you play that on like 5 play points or 6 play points, then you can do that 3 times. Yeah, you just keep playing the Baphomet until it. Hey, there it is, the removal.
Andeemon knows.
I was actually going to mention that. Andeemon actually using the Phantom Howl, just like Exo said, as a removal spell here.
So I think you gotta swing the 2 into the Demon Eater and the 3 into the Lurching.
Right. Depends on if he cares a lot about the Demon Eater, but realistically against the Shadow matchup, you'd want to remove everything in play so that they can't Soul Convert, they can't Demon Eater, yada yada.
Okay. Cost him 1 Evo Orb, but cleared the board.
Okay. Fina really the best play that Hacterox has this turn. It feels bad because it's not evoing for any kind of special ability other than getting the Goblin Mage, which pulled a Skull Piece. Sad face. But has to do it. Has to present a board for Ektar coming up here.
Right. Not only that, but I think he also, worst case scenario there, you make a 0-mana minion. You can also cast Soul Conversion on that to look for more powerful plays than Eater next turn. Since you're only holding the 6 shadows, you're not really going to get a good Eater.
The Death's Breath is actually something I think in Shadow Mirrors that is very important as well, right? Kind of the combination of Death's Breath and Ektar going back and forth. And,
ooh, come on.
Ouch.
That's
yesterday, no fun at all.
Yesterday was insane in terms of the targeted removal or the not targeted removals. Yeah. Today really seems like
targeted
the opposite.
removal, yeah.
I think they all
close
every kind of all the Lurching Corpses and the Necro Assassins went out to party, and now they all have hangovers. They really are not doing well today.
That's a very interesting evolve.
Oh my goodness. Well, Arthur, what was the card you were just talking about?
Lurching and Necro Assassin.
No, right before that, you said in this matchup you were.
Death's Breath and Ektar and kind of balancing the expenditure of shadows.
Death's Breath is not something you actually see in all Shadow decks anymore because of the Shadow expenditure, but it is very important to have in particular the Mirror and other aggressive matchups. So it really just depends on if the player has it or not.
Oh, got a Lich and still has a Lich in the pocket. 2 for 1.
That was
call now.
Erd really gets a lot of value sometimes.
Erd is like one of the most fantastic saleswomen in the universe.
Please explain.
There's so much value. Erd goes up,
there's more.
Erd buys your private information, gets your phone number, calls you, asks, hey, do you want more effectiveness out of X item in your house, right? In this case, Attendant of the Night. It says, well, I can help you with that. For what? 4 play points, I can turn your Attendant of the Night into a Lich and give your Attendant of the Night back. So you can possibly have 2 Liches. Insane!
This sounds really good.
Need I say more?
I mean, look at this board. The Attendant of the Night is chilling there, and he's got the Lich.
Popping 2 evolves there, putting Fina at 1, and then planning to evolve Lyriel the next turn, or use Zombie Party on it. 2 evolves to get rid of a 5/6 is quite the head play.
This must be fate.
I think it was just the big whiff on Necro Assassin that you just cringe at when it happens.
Yeah, for sure. You're just like, okay, Necro Assassin, whatever. Don't win the game for free.
Putting you back in the bin, Necro Assassin.
Oh man, poor Necro Assassin.
So this game is looking like it's going to be a little bit grindier. Hacterox definitely ahead right now because of just literally the life points, and that's really it. It will take him less time to actually push the remaining points of damage, but the game's pretty even right now.
Interesting. And
I think Rox has a bit more card advantage in the fact that he's holding another Soul Conversion, and Andeemon has just the 1 Demon Eater, but yeah, he could just cantrip into more. But this board, though,
I actually kind of like this, just in the sense that you're going to be able to take down the Bone Chimera and its spawns here, and if your opponent responds by throwing down the Ector, your zombies still die anyways, because they only have 2 defense, right? So you've kind of putting your zombies at 1 defense is not really a weakness in this particular scenario.
Right, 100%.
Yeah, he's noticed Andeemon has not done too much progressively in the past couple turns, having to use both evolves to get rid of 1 minion. Obviously, he's not drawing the best cards, so if you kill Shadow's minions, they can't draw cards, so...
Right.
Something has to
They have to play out of hand.
Interesting.
He'll opt to kill Eectra, which actually leaves up 1 extra damage.
I would imagine that well, 1 extra damage and bodies on board is like the staple.
I think
of
it's actually one less damage, because there would have been a zombie left as well, so that would have been a total of 7 as opposed to 6.
Mm.
No,
Which would have meant that
can kill 2
Cerberus was a
zombies.
kill, and now it's not.
The zombies trade evenly, though.
The zombies do, yes, but there was also a Lich on the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what I mean is, instead of using the 2 zombies to kill 2 zombies, he used 2 zombies to kill the Eector.
Right.
Ooh, that...
Oh,
Right, which took
that's
5 damage instead of 4 damage off the
Oh
board.
my god, that's a lot of zombies.
So many zombies.
Oh, no. That's not what he needed to see.
I think this is lights out.
Yeah, being at 3 health and also having no ward available right now. And that's kind of what we were talking about in terms of the mirror match, right?
Yeah,
Ward
Death's
can
Breath
be
would
very
be amazing here. Had he Demon Eatered his own Ector there and hit a Death Well, he wouldn't actually have the ward anyway, because Ector ate all the shadows, but...
Right.
Yeah.
But that just goes to show...
That's when the card would have been useful.
And I think
if he
we
had
mentioned
shadows.
this. We mentioned this yesterday, right? When we were talking about Shadowcraft, is that typically you have much more aggressive set cards, and where traditionally you would have run Death's Breath. Now that people are kind of actually foregoing it, your health points are so much more valuable now.
So much more valuable. Not only that, it's like you really see the difference on the play versus the draw in the matchup now. Like, it used to be really important, but now it's even more important because of if you have a unit in play, you can draw cards, and if you're on the play, you can manipulate that a lot better.
Interesting. We've got Runecraft Dirt Rune.
There it is, Dirt Rune.
The Dirty Rune.
That wild card I was telling you about, man.
Yep. And then Andeemon again on Shadow. So this will be interesting. He's got a lot of illusionists. And I think this early game plays out quite well. You can go for the Alchemist and then the Illusionist Earthright, or Illusionist Earth Rune on turn 3. And that gives you a pretty sticky board.
Definitely not bad. Especially since Shadow is not really... These current Shadow builds aren't really doing too much in the beginning, except setting up things that will cascade in the mid-game, so...
Yep. Very well put. I like that word, cascade.
Cascade.
Cascade. One of the more busted Magic keywords.
Oh yeah. Let's not get into that right now.
Oh gosh. Card games.
Oh yeah. All right. So
Yeah, there's
Hacterox.
really not much you can even do. You
with
just
a
have to
pretty
go
good
face.
curve.
Like, why even kill anything right here?
Right. Set up a little red hot ritual. Set up another magic illusionist. Easy peasy.
But again, Shadow's 4-mana play. They're not really doing anything. Even a Necro Assassin this turn would be pretty slow and weak, so he's just gonna keep setting up.
Still can't really affect the
Stage set
board.
for Cerberus. Ooh.
My friend's pretty terrifying, right?
Andeemon says, "You know what? I don't care. I'm just gonna go face."
It's funny because both of them actually want to ignore the other person's board right now.
Right.
They just
Right.
want to keep hitting each other in the face.
Interesting. Who do you think... Well, I guess eventually once you get to Professor of Taboos, everything comes crashing down. I feel like this is a perfect opportunity to try to get rid of the Lurching Corpse, just because you'll still maintain your cards on board. But if you start throwing down other cards here, then you run the risk of kinda...
You're done for.
I hope he swings first.
It's just like
I think this Levi is going to use the Fireball on the 3/3 and then kill itself on the Lich. So, oh, never mind.
Interesting.
So
Okay,
Illusionist
piercing
will kill
rune
this.
instead.
gather round.
Yeah, that's interesting for sure.
Keeps the Levi around.
Leaves the
Now,
corpse.
that play I don't understand. If you're going to keep the Levi around, get rid of the Skull Beast with your Illusionist.
Keeping the well, I guess he chose to. Yeah, no, I don't know. Yeah, getting rid of the body because you don't lose the Illusionist.
Right?
Your odds don't change.
So very interesting play. It kind of went 50-50 there. Kind of defensive, kind of face, and I think kind of garbled it right at the end there, but we'll see how big of a difference it makes.
I think Andeemon just had the tech of all my minions can't attack you except for this hidden Skull Beast. They can hit me.
Right, exactly.
Either way.
Actors was like, oh, wait a minute, that's not another Lurching Corpse. What have I done?
Maybe he won't realize that.
The Skull Beast, the terror. Look at it. Where are its eyes? Skull Beast is another one of those cards that I haven't really looked closely at.
It's
Actually
a
has no
beast
eyes.
with no eyes. Come on, it's a skull.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to
It's a
have
skull,
any eyes. Yeah.
Oh no.
Can't see, it just flails.
Whoa!
He's going face. That's the only place.
And even knows what's up. Is he gonna go face with the Skull Beast? Please. Oh, okay. I was like, you're not that much of a man, Andy. Come on.
There's no way.
You gotta
That
play a
value
little
trade is way
defensively
too
here.
good.
I would have voted for it.
God.
I'll save my
Here it is.
Alright.
All right, please don't kill
Taboo
yourself.
is gonna snipe corpse. It's gonna happen.
Okay, I'm
So many
this
ways
is-
to kill itself.
Oh god.
This sacrilege will save
He's gonna flood the board here though, so it's gonna be a 20% chance to hit Taboo's back.
forensic experiment.
Oh, sorry. 25%. Because Taboo didn't make the next zombie because it didn't that was on the board. Oh my god.
You get
Aye.
what's coming. You get what's coming.
25% chance. Of course it'll happen. Why wouldn't it?
Oh no.
That's rough.
It still has
Still
a
had
board.
a very
Actually
good
has to
spot,
see an
though.
enemy minion die before it'll make that zombie, so it wasn't a 20% yet.
Mm-hmm.
Could have been, but yeah.
I think we might actually see the Phantom Hell be a defensive play again.
He
Well, I
can.
mean, it's
Can't-
holding 11 damage right now. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he's got the evolve plus the 4.
So one-off lethal always feels bad, but I think that might coerce Andeemon into keeping it. I mean, 1 damage,
Okay.
but no, goes for it. Yeah, it's gonna go for the defensive one.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I've just been like, you know what, Rune can't kill me, and then they're just like, you're dead.
Especially Dirt Burn Rune though. Like
Oh, yeah.
they play
Oh, yeah.
Hagel Golems, they play Oz into damage spells. Like if any deck could do it, it would be this one.
Well, I believe we've already seen this turn here, and I think the Goblin Mage and the Time Worn Mage gets played here. And then I believe the top deck Hector comes by. And let's see. There it is, and it looks like the choice was that Andy was going to play the Hector, and he's going to call his buddies up and says, hey, there's some cards that we need to get rid of. Come help a brother out. And the zombies say, we got your back. And now the Goblin Mage and the Dwarf Alchemist get pieced out. There it is. And now just a 7-8 Hector. Oh my god! The top deck on the Dance of Death puts Andeemon onto 8 health, but the card options are definitely in favor of Andeemon right now. Plays out the Immortal Thane, and just a crit. Oh! What is this game? The top deck of the Wizardess of Oz. And let's see what happens here. Oh my god! The Mutagenic Bull! What? What did we just miss? What the heck? I can't believe it! The instant... Oh my god, what a game! What? I think there's too much insanity happening.